Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/PettyRevenge. In today's episode, party of 12 at 7 p.m? Sure, we will be ready for you. Bob is dead. No, this is not your email address. Sorry, we're not a bank. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Party of 12 at 7 p.m? Sure, we will be ready for you. Some years ago, we started to get phone calls for a rather upscale downtown restaurant. We would tell them that they had the wrong number, but they kept coming, so there had to be a reason. After a few tries, we were able to find out where they got our number. One of the restaurant managers had cards printed up with our number on it. We called the restaurant a few times and informed them what was happening. They said that they would take care of it but didn't. I stopped trying the nice route when they basically told me to F off and stop calling. I stopped calling as they requested and started to accept reservations. They probably didn't notice since the first ones were for small parties that could be worked in. The calls finally stopped soon after I took a reservation for a party of 12 at 7 p.m. I felt a little sorry for party expecting a table to be ready for them, but I considered that to be collateral damage. Bob is dead. This happened 20 plus years ago, back in the days when everybody had a landline with an answering machine. Yes, I am old. I moved to a new city, got my phone line hooked up, and almost immediately started getting phone calls for whoever owned my phone number before me. I'll call him Bob, because that was his name. The number of phone calls was ridiculous. I'd come home from work to at least 5 or 6 messages on the answering machine, asking Bob to call them back. Throughout the evening, and as late as midnight, sometimes later, I'd get more calls for Bob. All day long on the weekends. It seemed like a mix of business, bill collectors, and friends and family of Bob. Each person I talked to, I would explain that this wasn't Bob's number anymore, and I hoped that eventually the people leaving messages would figure out that they had the wrong number. But nope, 5 months later and I was still getting 8 or 10 phone calls a day for Bob. So, I changed the message on my answering machine. I started it with, if you are calling for Bob, stop calling this number, Bob is dead. If you are calling for wandering, leave a message after the beep. It seemed to work. Over the next month or so, the number of messages had dropped to just 1 or 2 a day. And then, one day I got the message. This is Bob. I am not dead. Stop telling people that I am dead. You made my mother cry. Change your message immediately. I laughed and left my message alone. Bob must have finally started giving his new number to people, because the wrong numbers dropped to just 1 every week or so after that. No, this is not your email address. There is a lady named Irene who does not seem to be able to understand the concept that my email address is not hers. She gives it out constantly, and repeated efforts to explain to her that she has it wrong have gone unheeded. Strong boomer energy from this one. As a result, I know she lives down in the US, she banks at Chase, she drives a Toyota RAV4 that is due for an oil change, and she seems to be having some medical issues down there. Irene, if you see this, call your doctor, she sounds concerned. I have repeatedly asked the various people involved to please inform Irene that she is providing all these places with my email address, which is, again, not hers. The only piece of information she has never provided is her phone number, so I have not been able to call her, although I did send her a Christmas card last year that read, Irene, Merry Christmas, stop telling people your email address is my email, it isn't, it's mine. Recently, it appears that Irene has been trying to buy a new house, and is planning a trip to Venice. I know this, because I got all the confirmations of her travel plans from her travel agent, as well as all the confirmations from her mortgage broker and insurance agent. This resulted, a couple weeks ago, in somewhere in the neighborhood of 70 emails a day, informing me of every detail of each of these transactions. So, I followed my usual approach. I emailed the agents back, and, probably slightly less politely than I could have been, informed the agents that Irene is once again giving out my email address as her own, and I have no interest in any of the private documents they had sent her. Apparently, they tried to call her. Unfortunately, I suspect they all tried to call her within a few minutes of each other to tell her the same thing, and she got very angry with all of them. She told them, very rudely, that in fact my email address is hers, and people needed to stop telling her that it wasn't, and why hadn't any of them sent her any emails yet confirming all of this stuff she was trying to do. Not long after, I separately got apologetic emails from each of them, the insurance agent, the travel agent, and the mortgage broker, telling me that they were very sorry, but Irene was very insistent that this was her email address, so they couldn't remove it from her account. This seems very stupid to me, but I am not American and do not understand American rules. So I told them that since I was apparently Irene, and I am completely sure that I did not apply for a mortgage, or for insurance, that all of those should be cancelled immediately. The mortgage broker told me that if we did that, we may not meet the date required in the contract for the removal of subjects. I told him that since I, Irene, was not applying for a mortgage, that didn't matter. The travel agent, who it seems had received the majority of the earful from Irene, seemed completely indifferent to my request to cancel my trip to Venice. She did tell me that there might be a cancellation fee for the original flight to Frankfurt. Why she was flying to Frankfurt to get to Venice, I have no idea. I assume there are no direct flights to Italy? So I told her to cancel all the rest of the flights and hotel rooms except the original flight to Frankfurt. Don't want to cost Irene that extra $20 after all. I have not heard anything further, and I am a little sad about that, as there's a part of me that loves the idea of Irene flying to Frankfurt, getting there and realizing all her connecting and return flights are cancelled. And I do wonder if she ever bought that house. But at least the emails have stopped. Sorry, we're not a bank. We ordered a meal from Just Eat, which is a UK delivery service like DoorDash, but with, at the time, this was a few years ago, much better customer services. One of the key differences at the time between this service and DoorDash is that the restaurants use their own drivers, although since then Just Eat also now have the gig economy drivers too. This means that the driver's time and pay was nothing to do with Just Eat. For some reason I cannot recall, we had ordered as cash on delivery instead of paying by card. Our order came to £22.50 and we paid with a £20 and £10 note. The driver who delivered it said he had no change and would go back to the restaurant and get it. He doesn't return, so we phoned the restaurant, only to be angrily told we are not a bank, and have the phone hung up on us. So we went to Just Eat's customer support, who in turn apparently threatened to remove the restaurant from their service for non-compliance if we did not get our change. So the next day, the driver comes to our door again, and this time he has a £10 note in his hand. He then asked us for the £2.50 change. Sorry, we're not a bank. He had to go back to the restaurant again and get exact change, then come back and gave us our £7.50 change. The driver thought it was hilarious. He said he doesn't care, he gets paid either way for his time. He said his boss was absolutely fuming but couldn't risk losing the Just Eat business. Petty? Absolutely. Did we ever dare order from that restaurant again? Hell no. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.